Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Woman to Woman TV show. I'm your host, Wanda Carter, and this evening we're going to be talking to a very dear friend of mine, Miss Jocelyn Floyd, who is a candidate for the 7th Aldermanic District. Welcome to the show, everyone. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, Wanda. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Hi, Wanda.
Hi, how are you? Attorney Hammer, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Hi, Livette. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Wanda. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks you all for joining us this evening. We're going to learn a whole lot about what Miss Floyd is going to be doing. And so I want to start with the question of, tell us about your public safety initiative.
We're jumping right into things.
Well, we're gonna jump right into
it. I appreciate that. And I just want to acknowledge a few people that are on the call that are experts in public safety. That would be former Chief of Police Joe Mosley. And we also have Attorney Meredith Hammer that is running for one of the police accountability seats for District 3. Okay. So we have very engaged community members. Also do want to acknowledge Sharon Lewis, Meadows, I mess this up all the time, Meadows the East, that does a lot of community service and engagement. And then Sydney Brooks is after school programming. So we've got quite a bit of wraparound services.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for inviting them all.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Danielle Richards is actually probably one of the most engaged for the southeast side of Chicago, working within the police department, but also too, with boots on the ground and, probably what could arguably be, the lost community or, the left behind community, which is South Chicago.
Yes. Okay. So, hey, let's begin our discussion.
Jump into it.
Yes.
So let's jump into it. Let's talk about public safety.
Okay.
As alderman, it is expected that you create an environment that is livable, walkable, and thriving. Yes. So when we look at that and we took a poll, the number one issue was safety. You have 12 mayoral candidates right now, all talking about public safety. And in the 7th ward, which is 71st Street to 107th Street, everybody's talking about how they want to be safe, how they want a walkable community, right? Feeling unsafe. There are several areas, right? You've got violent crime, you've got nuisance businesses, right? Yes. So we're going to tackle both of them. We can start with violent crime. So we're talking about gun crime, we're talking about carjackings, we're talking about robberies. Just recently, today, there was a protest on 79th and Jeffrey, hosted by the Neighborhood Network Alliance, addressing 2 shootings in 2 days. One of the most gruesome was one who got into an argument with a guy that was coming through the back door of his home and was murdered on 79th and Llewellyn.
Oh, man.
These aren't isolated incidents, right?
Right.
We know that there is gun violence that is rampant. We know that there's gang crime. We know that there's drug activity. We know that there is illegal prostitution.
Right.
Or prostitution in general, because it's not legal. So we have been working behind the scenes to be more active. And that looks like one, Joe and I had a meeting with the Cook County Sheriff's Department Chief of Police. And in that call, we addressed issues related to public safety. What we're doing is we're asking the Cook County Sheriff's Department to step in and aid in additional patrol for Districts 3, which is 71st Street, and 4, which is 103rd. Now, what that means is that we realize that, one, the police department is short-staffed. We realize that they're working without a contract that they haven't had for years. We know that they have mental health issues. They only have 3 psychologists on a staff of 12,000, right?
Okay.
We know that they have PTSD, trauma, anxiety, and some suffer with suicidal ideation.
Whoa.
These are the people that patrol our streets. We need to take care of them. But while I think they are working things through, we've had this conversation with the Cook County Sheriff's Department, and they too are short-staffed, but they're willing to help. So we are happy to announce that we have a roll call that is in the midst of being scheduled, to create a show of force, related to public safety. Additionally, during this time, we will be working with Sharon Lewis's nonprofit to do a program called Light Up the Night. Whereas we're creating a safer environment by lighting up the front porches of homes in these communities that are hard hit by violence.
We have a question from Mr. Willie Sims.
Hi, Willie. Mr. Sims. Good
Hey, how you-
evening.
I didn't have a question. I was just applauding that ideal of lighting up the homes, try to keep the violence down. I totally agree. As a business owner, very, violence, causes fear amongst people, and they don't come out and make local businesses. So in that regard.
Okay.
Well, we are addressing the business area of crime as well. We are going to be addressing a public hearing on October 21st related to a not so friendly neighbor. It is alleged to be a men's spa located on East 75th Street. However, this men's spa is alleged to have some extremely nefarious activity, right? It is across the street from a daycare and about a block away from a public school, which is Powell Academy. So we are concerned. The windows were recently shot out, and children have to walk past, seniors have to walk past, and everyone has to feel safe, when they're using public way, right?
Yes.
But more importantly, if you have a license and this alderman somehow seemed to approve that this is the type of business that South Shore needs or wants, which is challenging in itself, we plan on addressing that, right? Because we have other businesses that left, exited, in what seems to be some very hostile interaction, right? And now here we are, looking to fight for business, to bring business and economic development back to the board, but it has to still be safe. So, the same would apply in any other community that is walkable, right? That not only is the community, fairly safe, but the businesses have to participate in that as well too.
Okay. Questions, ladies and gentlemen, to our candidate.
I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Margot Richmond.
I happen to live right behind where you just got through talking about where the windows were shot out.
Yes, ma'am.
Not only is that a problem, that's almost kind of minor compared to what's been going on for years and years here. One of the main concerns is that we're looking over lots. Safe passage means that the sidewalks that you have just described from Yates all the way over to the lake where the school is, 1 block away from the school. Nobody's addressing the men that are sitting there. The children have to walk outside on the outer side by the car. Every morning, they're out there 10 to 20 deep across on the south side of the street. On the west side of the street, they sit inside of the bus depot. Now, I'm not, and have been saying this a long time, South Shore has men's shelters that are apartment buildings that's rented out to social service agencies. The social service agencies had to be aware that there's no place for them to go in, sit down, have tea, play cards, play chess. There's no place. All the way back over to you can go all the way back straight on over there across Cottage Grove. So if you're talking about addressing, I've heard everything, I've listed everything that I hear people talk about. I live in South Shore, I walk these streets every day. But where the men gonna go? You don't have that many ladies. Now you're talking about prostitution. If you're talking about going up exchange, you'll see 5 or 6 ladies scattered here and there. The problem is there's no place for the men to go. So you run the police from one end of 75th to the other end, but you're running them behind buildings and they still don't have no place to go. Are you all intending on addressing each person to find out where these people are putting and laying their head? The wintertime is approaching, so what are they going to do? They're going in somebody's house. They're going to live 2 and 3 apartments deep. You got high-rise buildings over here, and I don't think that the managers or the owners of these properties that have invested here have invested in enough security and a place for these people to be housed, because there's no place for them to sit. They are sitting outside on the actual sidewalk. It looks like Skid Row over here.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So you can have all of the police you want. You can have the sheriffs to come out and lock them up. But there's no solution to a place for them to go when they're walking outside of the shelters and put them out there and they eat breakfast and they're outside roaming. You got 6 nursing homes. Those people are walking up and down the street. So something needs to be addressed in terms of opening up some of these abandoned buildings and allowing the people from the nursing homes. These are people with mental illness. You can look at them and tell half of them don't have coats on, proper clothes.
That's true.
When they come out of those nursing facilities or these places that they have, they should have a place to go, some adult daycare facility. You can't have this many people, men and some women. You talk about 71st Street. I was just there. I talk to Sandra every day when I'm up and down 71st Street. I talk to every last one of the men. You got all of these companies, and I'm telling you, if you do a study and find out how many people have invested from California to Florida in the high-rise buildings in Cyril Court and 70th and South Shore and 70th and Jeffrey. You got to find a place for the people to go.
Mm-hmm.
In the
And
shopping
thank
mall
you.
right here on 71st Street, open up some of them places and let the men come off the street.
Well, luckily, one of our partners, our future partner, is the UMC Church on Jeffrey, Pastor Mark Tapp. I had a meeting with him recently, and he's got not only a beautiful church, but a massive open church. It's got basketball, it's got a stage, it's got small private rooms, and he's looking to partner with community to use the space. He said the space isn't just here for Sundays for 2 hours. It is a big, beautiful building, and it is open to the public. So perhaps we can facilitate a conversation, one with the property owners that are providing, these services for residents that they're required to take care of, right? Especially, if they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars between the senior homes and the shelters to provide, some form of recreational activity, for their residents and patients. That would be a partnership that we could surely facilitate. Once I'm elected, I do have a sponsor that is going to be bringing additional social services, wraparound services as well. Because I agree, children should not be walking past that whole situation on East 75th Street. It is problematic. But what's even more shocking is we're having this conversation for the CPS staff and administration that see that every day. There has not been one complaint. There is not one after school matters, anything along that strip. Furthermore, there's not even a safety team that's watching the children walk past that issue. So there is another conversation that needs to be had related to the safety of the children coming from either Powell Academy and or the daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are pedestrians that are immediately affected. And for CPS to take a blind eye to that's another reason why I've stepped into this, because I've been a parent. My kids walked home and I wanted them safe too, just like everyone else. Thank you for your comment.
Absolutely. Any other comments, questions for the candidate?
Hi,
Okay.
I wanted to talk. Am I talking over someone?
No, go right on.
Okay, I wanted to ask her, with Margot talking about all the things that are going on, naturally, as you know, this is has adversely affected economic development plans. What plans do you have? Because I live in one of these walkable areas in the city. So when I do come to the south side and I do go to the Jeffrey and whatnot, one of the things I can tell you that I do see, I'm not a scary cat. I'm not always comfortable saying, okay, cool, this is a safe place to pull up to maybe even visit one of the fast food places. I hear that there's a great nail shop right there in that strip mall by the Walgreens on 71st and Jeffrey. And I also heard from another friend who lives up in Grays Lake, and I have another one that lives up there in Gurnee, who drove down to there is a hair salon there because they're supposed to have a really great person who does haircuts that everybody has heard about. And she's even been at some of the hair shows, but they said it was a huge turnoff for them because one, the doors had bars on it. You had to be buzzed in. And again, as they got ready to park their vehicles, they had to look around and it became a little uneasy. And these are people who frequent the city of Chicago. I mean, so it's not like, okay, they're afraid to go anywhere. They go west side, north side, again, southeast side. What is being done to maybe draw and attract more businesses to the community? Or what are your plans, if you can really divulge all of them? I know they got copycats out here, but divulge some of the plans and the ideas you have for, again, attracting businesses, which again, at the same time, they can help kind of deter that type of hanging around and sitting on the sidewalks. Because again, as with businesses, you will come up with another plan. You will, just like they do up here, they have a solution for people even when they start to come out and hang out, in addition to having the Chicago police offer them somewhere else to go or telling them to move along. There are programs up here where individuals who don't have much to do with their day, and we got a lot of retired seniors up here, so they're not just hanging out in the streets. So have you thought about anything that you could do from an economical standpoint that
Absolutely.
also would help with that problem?
Absolutely. And thank you for, both the comments and the questions related to economic development. Economic development is my second pillar. South Shore to Trumbull Park is beautiful here. It's not just South Shore. It is the entire ward. If, people decide, to just take a closer look, there are nuggets, golden nuggets everywhere. And it's not just nail shops and hair salons. We have budding businesses coming to the ward. First, let's talk about my plan to have a downtown South Shore. This is from 71st to 79th, with economic corridors expanded on 75th and 79th Street. And since we're located on Route 41, we are going to catch the tourists that are coming in to, of course, visit Obama Library, that are going to be coming in from either the IC, coming in from the Skyway, coming in from Route 41, and we want to catch them and be a welcoming town, because originally South Shore was the summer hometown when people lived where you live on the Gold Coast. So they'd have, your business, work life, and then you would come here and you would play golf. You play some tennis. You would, go to the country club. You would, boat with your power boat or your sailboat, an inner or outer, but you had this life that, was amazing. And you could have, your extra special home, just overlooking the park or overlooking the lake. For us, that is our diamond. That is where a lot of our money is going to come from. So once we develop food, beverage, and entertainment for 79th Street, for that exchange corridor running along the IC, we are also going to build up Steelworkers Park. What that means is from 83rd Street back to 79th, we want to develop that property into a summer seasonal type Airbnb type housing for a tourist, right? So a hospitality program that would venture to say, and welcome whoever that is, I would venture to say that this would be the luxury housing that people want on the lake. There is no hospitality in the city on a lake next to a beach. You could drive as much as you'd like, past, Streeterville, Gold Coast, Lincoln Park, Boys Town, Edgewater, Lakeview. There are none. It's all residential. So we would be the first to introduce these eco-friendly pods to our visitors, and they would be built and installed by our residents. Even the builder is African American. So that is our heavy plan.
That would be great. My grandson just, I don't know if you were aware, but King High School had their homecoming at South Shore last week. And he's been up here and everywhere else and out of state and everywhere, even in California and different places. So he was saying, oh my God, that place was really beautiful, Nana. But one of our concerns was, again, how was it going to be at night over there? We were saying, oh, what about the safety? And I grew up I come from the 46th and Greenwood area.
Okay.
That's why I grew up. And again, safety wasn't a big issue like it is now, even though we had the presence of the street gangs. Again, the street gangs were very different. I'm 63, so they were very different at that time. So now to have to be very fearful of a community that you did frequent and that you do support. I'm like Margot, I support the area 100,000%. Because it's a beautiful area when you drive through. I mean, even when you look past the individuals who might be loitering or whatever else is going on, you just can't overlook the beauty. Even when I sit at 57th there by the museum and you're waiting to get on to the Lakeshore Drive, DeSable Drive, let me get that straight. You're waiting to get on, you can't help but look at how beautiful the lake is at any given time. And it's really sad that it's being underutilized and it's underappreciated and it's undervalued simply because, again, I guess we as a people can't seem to get our act together and we don't have the proper leadership. We don't have the proper leadership in place. Yes.
I hear your concerns about, maintaining, this community, that is, known for excellence and pride and, moving away from that. Absolutely. But we do have a solid plan that we are going to execute once I am elected. It looks like Veronica Kyle has a question. I see her hand up.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Glad to join the conversation. My husband, William, is here as well. We're South Shore people, and I just want to respond to a few things that I've heard, but I also want to thank you, Jocelyn, and Wanda, whoever's facilitated this conversation this evening. We are South Shore, as African Americans predominantly, we are the last African Americans that are predominantly residing on lakefront property in America. In America.
In America.
In
Okay,
America.
and I'm not talking about, I just left Martha's Vineyard in Oak Bluff, and we're not the majority there, but the people are there. This is a phenomenon. And if we on this call think that by design, much of the degradation, crime, drug addiction issues did not, this is what is happening across urban America, because somebody just said it, the cities are beautiful. So we have to understand that no one elected official can change this phenomena. It's really going to take a deep community effort, and people who are on this call who probably have been in South Shore even longer than me know that when certain communities were being torn down, we had someone get on TV and say, send them all to me. Send me all my people. At that time, I was a tenant trainer in Woodlawn, and we reached out to that alderman and said, let us do some tenant training. Let us do some community training. We are getting ready to merge a whole different population. People may be living in a very different way. If you used to the elevator break-in on the 15th floor, you did open up the window and throw your garbage out. And then you move here and you do the same thing. And look, I'm an Argyle Gardens girl, so let me be real clear. Chicago Public Housing, my family migrated. We came there, then to Avalon Park. So so I want to say that what has often happened in our community is an influx of issues that hit us all at one time. And then we blame each other, the victim, the leadership. Don't get me wrong, our leadership needs to change. That's why I'm on this call, Jocelyn.
I thank you, ma'am.
Unapologetically, you got my vote, okay?
Thank you.
Because I feel like, you know, everybody you get 2 terms. I'm not 3 strikes you out. 2 terms, you need to go. You know, if I don't see improvement, but we need to help you make that change.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I think somebody talked about where we're the people who are in the buildings, the transient people, the men who've come, it's getting cold. We need to hold those landlords and those building owners accountable. They have basements, they have rooms, just like up north, somebody said they live on the Gold Coast. Look, it's not happening up there because the owners of the property are gonna make sure that the recreation that their tenants need, many of them don't even have to leave their building. So we can hold these landlords accountable. They can make lounges in those buildings. They can knock down some walls. They can put in pool and chess and whatever. They can do that. And we have beaches. So people don't have to sit on the bus corner near the kids at school. They can go to the park. We can get more investment in our parks. So I just want to say there is opportunity for vision and community support, but what we cannot do is complain and do nothing or think it's all going to be one person, one vote, one election. I know you're going to be great.
Thank you.
But you're going to need all of us. And we're going to have to put some pressure on owners, property owners, business owners to do better in our community.
And I have started doing that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have started to do that. I have had a meeting with one of the major property owners to mediate some issues. There had been an issue with one tenant that did not have a refrigerator for 60 days. The tenants didn't have hot water for 42 days. And now it looks like the same property owner is increasing the rents because the rents aren't at market scale. The rents are like $600-700 a month, and they want to bring them up to about $1,000-1,200. So we are having, you know, these conversations, and then there's a few others under veteran housing and HUD-VASH that we're talking to as well, because there is a concern not only with the tenant but the property owner that, you know, they're getting this monies and they are not being held to the standard related to the municipal code. That means like your trash shouldn't be all over the place. Like cutting your grass. You should not have an 8-foot weed tree that welcomes your guests and tenants. It is unacceptable. You should not have a driveway that is peeling. You should not have mice and rodents running around and about in your public areas. So I've started addressing some of that with a few property owners that will remain nameless, but they are definitely having a real conversation with me.
And I just want to say one thing: property owners should invest in the community, not just their property.
Exactly.
Because that means you want to attract a certain clientele. So you invest. It used to be property owners, landlords, they sponsor little league teams. You know, they did sponsor block parties. People should not be making money over here and not investing in here, not only in their property, just collecting money and then driving on back to Palatine and Schaumburg and Lake County and whatever. And it happens because I've even followed some of them home. You ever follow one of the people from the liquor store? Go see where they live, okay? This is not tolerated. They do not let any laundering happen. I lived up north. I was waiting on my husband. He went in the store for a soda in front of a liquor store. The man came out and said, "I'm sorry, miss. You can't stand here. They will fine me." Okay? So it's a different
we need
standard.
a little of that.
Yes,
we need
it's
a
a
little,
different
we need a little of that on 75th Street. Looks like Sydney Brooks had a question related to the economic development plan.
Hello, how everyone doing?
Good.
Fine.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
I have more of not a question for you, Ms. Floyd, just a statement. I have been discussing some of these issues with Ms. Floyd that we're talking about, and we are looking at what we call the 7th Ward Youth Initiative, which goes from ages 21 on down to address some of these issues. We just had a conversation with Sky Bowl. If any of y'all know what Sky Bowl is, it's on 102nd and Torrance. We're gonna be working with them for Senior Bowl. He has Senior Bowl on Thursdays. One of the issues that was brought up is in the 7th Ward. I've been over here since 1967, when it used to be 5th Ward. We have, like everyone said, there's no activities. There's nothing for the seniors. There's nothing for the young guys. And the guys that y'all talking about up on 75th, I know majority of them. And first thing they asked me when I was talking about Miss Floyd, what is she gonna do to help us? And my comment to them was, what you gonna do to help yourself first? Because you have to help yourself before we can help you. But we are looking at program. I can truly say that discussion has been going on since day one that I met her. And we have churches that we do have to get more involved instead of just being here on Sunday. We need to be open. They need to be open them doors other than Sundays. We have the Park District that is very terrible over here in the 7th Ward. And we have been to them Park District. I have been to them, and they empty. They have no programs that we can push people to, which we have to fight and start pushing people to some of the early day programs before the kids get there. We have to start working on, me and Ms. Floyd talked about a day work facility over here. If you look, we don't even have anywhere for these guys to go do day work at, or housing a business here that can send them out for day work. That would solve some of our problem with some of these young guys that just sitting around. We have to give them something that will get them off them streets. A few of the guys, y'all talk about 75th, you got one guy there cutting hair. He
On the
cuts hair
sidewalk.
out of his car. He cuts hair. Some of the other guys up there that's not, who haven't passed away, that was just their hangout spot because they didn't have nowhere else to hang out. George and them used to hang out in the parking lot of the building across the street. Our youth, our seniors, and all of them need somewhere to go. And I'm working with Ms. Floyd to work on that. And if we all stick together and stay on that same plan, we can change this. We can change this. We just need an alderman that's gonna work with the small organizations who's on ground. I'm working with the state rep about the same issues. And I'm about to get on the senator, our state senator, about these same issues. If we can get all three of them on the same issues, working together to solve these issues, we will see a major change in our community.
And Sydney, I hate to cut you off, but for time, we've got two people with their hand up, and I thank you, and we will continue. Jeanette Foreman, and then Sharon Lewis.
Hi, quickly.
Hi there. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
good. I'm so glad for this, and I hope we have many, many more of these. I would like to speak to, or at least reiterate what I just heard, and that is, I would love to see included in your programs the things that would, I think, reverberate in our community and resound very strongly. That goes to the idea of having our young people, our people that are unemployed and loitering around, having them focus and seniors something to do. I I'm a member of the Park Advisory Councils in South Shore. We have 4 or 5 park advisory councils that are trying to get that very thing resolved. That is, getting the park districts to do their jobs, to have programs. I can tell you very much that that is widely believed to be a very strong component of the things that would resolve crime, that would resolve mental illness, that would give our families support on a lot of levels. So
Absolutely.
I urge you to look at and to put that as an initiative into your thoughts and into the things that you speak to, because it is very pregnant right now. And it is
Absolutely.
something that is provably doable. We are in our parks are about to have a meeting with the superintendent and the new program advisor and coalesce around the idea that we must have more programs. The park certainly has the budget for it and has not been pushed to do it. So I think that that could give you a lot of votes and certainly would get a lot of people's attention if you looked at that as a resolution.
Absolutely, Jeanette, thank you for your comments. And I'll give you a little sneak peek because we're already negotiating with the Italian American Humanities Foundation to bring Venetian Night to South Shore. So we will have decorated boats from 71st Street to 83rd Street, coming in from both the South Harbors and Indiana, boats decorated, fireworks. We've reached out for Mexican Independence Day. We've reached out for a few other events, and then fireworks on Saturday nights and Wednesday nights, just like there are in the North Shore, to attract people here, you know, food, beverage, entertainment, family fun, definitely partaking in, you know, our beautiful beach land, and then supporting our businesses. We've got Sharon Lewis next, and then the vets, in my opinion, next.
Hi. So thank
Hi there.
you for taking my comment. So one of the things that I'd like to speak to and then ask you questions about is, for the last 8 years, we have been woefully underserved in terms of communicating with our aldermanic office. We don't have a way to reach out and express the sorts of things that we're talking about here on this call today. We don't have a website where we can follow what's going on in our community. We have not yet found out what is the plan for South Shore, Calumet Heights, Jeffrey Manor, or South Chicago, and what that looks like and how we are going to have some economic development. We went through the pandemic in this community and watched our businesses burn, and we got no information about it. Today alone, we had Cook County Sheriff do a raid. We had an accident on the Metro at 75th and a lot of police action. And we had no police officer, I'm sorry, no aldermanic comments about any of these sorts of things. So if there's a newsletter, it's widely known. I have a dog. It's not something that's widely known and we get to hear about. So my question to you is, how do you intend to serve your community in a way that makes it easy for us to, 1, connect with you, 2, reach you physically, 3, be informed about the things that you plan to do for the community?
Wonderful question. I'm going to introduce the developer of our Safer 7th Ward mobile app that everyone will have access to. And we will host conferences, events, initiatives, answer frequently asked questions, provide information, send out push notifications, and that will be our ward-wide model. This alderman doesn't prioritize communication. I don't know if most of you know, but he hasn't supported that website for the last 2 years. So I'd be curious to know how he had meetings. But moving forward, we will make the mobile app easily adaptable during our first 100 days. we will be going to all of the libraries and hotspots around the community, traveling ward-wide, all 31 precincts, to say hello, better engage, develop a relationship, load the app. Let's show you how to use it. Here's how it works. And what do you need? How can we help you? And that is the model for the ward. It's very simple. And two, I know that someone is probably going to watch this later and say seniors don't know how to use apps, which is completely not true. As you will find, we're going to launch at the senior breakfast, which is next Wednesday at the Quarry at 9 o'clock. If you've not gotten your tickets, you are welcome to get your tickets. It is at no cost. You'll be able to see the mobile app live in action, so you can see it, demo it, ask questions of the developer. Microsoft and United are two of the companies that use the app currently. So that way you can feel a little more at ease, or rest assured that a relationship is going to be paramount for us to work together related to participatory budgeting, but also getting the needs of the community met. Thank you. It looks like we've got Livette's, in my opinion, LIMC, LIMO.
LIMO. Good evening. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Hi, Livette. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I live on the west side, and it sounds like such a mirror image of what you're experiencing. I have an aunt that's been in South Shore for at least maybe 60 years. And so it was a place where I would come and feel like I was in the suburbs. And now it's like, I'm glad I'm on the west side, because what the crime statistics and all of those kinds of things happening, it's like it's just mind-boggling, right? And so one of the things that is so closely associated with all of our urban communities is that resources are not equitable. And so when you are in a position where you're fighting for resources and they're unevenly distributed, and I'm talking about across the nation, and we are the majority in the city council, we are the majority in Springfield, and somehow that unity needs to come together to fight for the resources that we need. When I hear the Latin community speaking in terms of resources, then they stick together and they get the resources. When I see today that in my park, in Garfield Park, there were about 50 contractors, trucks, everything, putting the pavement down in the park. We've been asking for it for 30 years. And to see them come was a beautiful thing. But all of the trucks said Guerres, Perez, Martinez. And so this is my point, is that if we don't look at our youth, those that are not going to be PhDs and master degrees, and if we don't create an alternative, apprenticeship programs, people that come into the high schools and encourage the youth that if they don't go to college, or if college is their second choice, get into an apprenticeship program, because if we're not creating income creators, then this situation is not going to change, in my opinion, because how can you sustain yourself when the income is not coming into the community? So you can focus on the tourism, and that's going to help. But when the tourists hear that, and this is what they do, they're going to Google the crime statistics, and they're going to stay as far away from your community as possible. And so dealing with the mental health issues, as they earlier speakers were talking about, getting the people off the street, assessing their mental capacity, and finding out why is the 80-year-old woman, same thing on the west side, walking down the street with a cart, going nowhere. And so sometimes you do look in their eyes, as Sandra was saying, and they're not focused, and it's heart-wrenching, but that's part of the resources that should be coming to our community when they've closed down all the mental health institutions. So
And we're
we're
addressing
dealing with
that
a
now.
right,
We're
and we're
addressing that
dealing
right
with a
now.
right, and we're
Mhm.
dealing with an imploding situation. So we're trying to work from the outer parameters to shore it up. But within our communities, it is imploding with our children. A lot of COVID caused a lot of mental collapse in families. And so we are multifaceted people, just really trying. And I applaud your efforts
Thank you.
to change your community, because it is going to take the dialogue. It is going,
It
and
is.
that, and Wanda and I are on the advisory council at Garfield Park, and it is a battle to do community work, but you have to find those that are interested. So right now we're working to reel some young people in, because we can't keep doing it, even though we haven't given up. But if we don't have young people interested in community, then it's a moot point. So we're doing things to encourage them. When you're talking about the ecology of your parks and the ecology of your water, all of that is incorporated. So we do have a lot at task, and I am an optimist, so I'm hopeful when I'm hearing people who are stepping up to the plate. So again, I applaud your efforts.
Thank you so much. And too, Lavette, I would say that because you had a lot going. First, for our young people, I am already courting a wholesale baker that is currently on the west side. He is young, he bakes on the wholesale side, and he's looking for a manufacturing plant. We have located a manufacturing, what could be a manufacturing facility at a small scale that would allow him to walk in. We've already talked to Commissioner Stan Moore related to Class 6 and the Class 8 to give him a tax break. We're already looking at the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund for the acquisition of the building and the build out of his materials. And the only thing he needs is staff. And we're going to be working with the church, which is the South Chicago Christian Center, to staff with people from the community. So this will be, the pilot of a program that lets people live in the community and walk to work safely, right? And generating that revenue and regenerating the revenue that is coming out of the bakery to support, a small community and some young people that would get, a skill and learn how to operate a business. And two, as well as a few other things. I think we've got a couple hands up. The Samsung SMG991U. Looks like you've got your hand up still.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Hi, my name is June, and first of all, I'm just elated to hear this conversation, and two, the other thing that's really good is that it's not a landlocked geographical thing. I just want to thank the young lady from the West Side who jumped in and she just read my mind, because that is exactly it. We must determine here on the South Side Central, what are the things that we want to be known for? What are the future industries that we want to be known for and develop? We can bring, as a friend of mine, Asada, used to say, we always got to have a lollipop. When she says that, and she means it's got to, and there's nothing wrong with the arts. She's one of the most artsy fartsy persons I know. But we have got to do those things that are sustaining and providing and recirculating our money. And I think one of the things we've got to do is we all know that we've got to dig down deep into these families because, you know, the external services, they're going to give us a Band-Aid, an opportunity to perhaps capture a few people. But if we don't do that deep down, you know, show enough truthful work with ourselves, we won't get out of this. We've got to educate our children that foolishness is not cool. Those of you who are on this call, you grew up probably just like me, that foolishness was not cool. That wasn't going to get you anywhere. Okay. And that's why we have what we have. And I want to leave you with these stats. 47% of the population on the south side between 22nd Street and 130th Street, median age, 53 years of age.
Wow.
Our eligible workforce, 18 to 49, only 33% of them are working. Think about the confluence of that, and then go ahead and give a bear hug to what that young lady was just speaking about before you were so gracious to let me speak. You cannot have an aging population and a workforce that doesn't work. Look at what's happening in Japan. We are like a little Japan over here on the south side. We've got an aging population and we do not have young people to work. And that is not sustainable.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And we're working to change it. We're working to change it. Our children have something that I would say that not a lot of other communities have, and that's our lakefront. Lake Michigan, we've got 100 acres of lakefront land that is underdeveloped, underappreciated, that number one, we need to protect, but two, engage. I will be asking public schools to better engage the lakefront. Our children should be in STEM programs. They should be outside learning, whether that be a Montessori method, a traditional curriculum, an IB curriculum, but something that gets them outside to play, right? So that they can learn scientific terms, inquiry, observation, they can learn sustainability, all outside in their backyard. And some kids don't have an amazing Lake Michigan backyard. So we're excited to move forward in that direction. And I think that that will engage and inspire them to perhaps even find careers in sustainability, in nature, you know, with some of their friends from the North Side. So thank you, June, for your comment.
Excellent.
Okay, Wanda, I'm back to you. What are we talking about?
Look at you, girl. Oh, wait. I mean, you just addressed so many of the issues that people seem to have.
Yes.
What about after school programming? What's your take on how you're going to adjust or add to after school programming? Do we have after school programming in South Shore?
Well, you know, I started this fight with the current alderman, the incumbent, over daycares. As some of you may or may not know, that the current alderman refused to give alley access letters to 3 women who had daycares, one in 75th Street, one East 93rd Street, another on 96 and Jeffrey. I went to talk to him. He's not too friendly, but he had given this woman bad information, inaccurate information related to an alley access letter, of which she didn't need. So I circumvented him. We went directly to Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, and she is open today with both the daycare center and an after school program. The second is reevaluating her business plan, but still would like to open a daycare. And come May 15th, I will give her a letter to open her daycare. And the third owner, unfortunately, lost the property and her daycare business on East 75th Street because she didn't receive a letter. So we have a situation whereas we got lots of space, right? We've got our churches, we've got our parks, we've got additional schools that, you know, we can use some of this gun violence reduction grant money to connect after school programming. And additionally, Trek and Fabric Foundation have committed to helping us open a wraparound service that includes after-school programming, mental health, social services for the entire 7th Ward. So we will have it. We will have it.
All
Your next
right.
question?
Okay, then my next question is, what about mental health? I know we've been talking about the folks hanging around there that are not employed, etc. And we identified the fact that a lot of them have mental issues. How will your campaign address that issue?
Wonderful question. Mental health here is an area that goes widely unaddressed, ward-wide. I have seen with my own eyes police officers dropping off patients from, Roseland Hospital to 95th and Jeffrey,
Oh, wow.
right? These are people that, are fresh out the hospital, no treatment, no meds, nowhere to go. And this hospital doesn't want to keep them around. That's a problem. I have been able to secure a mental health van and a location to triage mental health so that we can direct people to a location for support and wraparound services. But I'd also like to provide additional support and service to the schools that have social workers that probably need just a little more to address anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, ADHD, combativeness, these issues that children have that, unfortunately, some people that are not our friend create an environment that lures the children into, a different life that sometimes is a life of crime.
Right. Sandra, you have a question?
I just wanted to ask the candidate, will she also include in her plans a way to work more with the veterans who are out there who, again, because of their mental illness, they are really underserved with regard to the fact that there's programming for them, but it is not in South Shore. The closest places the closest place that I know that they can get any kind of help is over on 77th or 76th, right there off of Halsted. Then there's another one over at what they call Beverly, which is all the way over there by Oak Lawn. It's really not even in Beverly. It's not Beverly, but it's in that vicinity. But like Margot said, I bet if you would check some of those folks that she see that's sitting out there, many of them may be veterans who have honorary or medical discharges, and they qualify for these services, but like the draw is their community. Just like Veronica was talking about earlier, the draw is to go back to, again, what the good times were. They remember that community. That's where they grew up. That's where their grandparents were. That's why, their long-term memories are attached to that community. I don't think your incumbent has done enough, based on what I've seen, to make sure that he is serving all the people. And one little bit of tip, because I know time is up. Margot and I had a conversation today about a meeting that she attended. I can't go into the specifics of the meeting, but one of the things that was stated there, individuals were saying, I control the Inglewood, I control the West Side, because there were 1,000 people there, and what they control. I hope that your folks, and as well as you, will not go into the position as controlling. You will remember that you are there to serve the people. And I told her, and it was another politician that had to speak out and said he found it to be offensive with them making that comment, because they should have came in and said, I represent Inglewood, I represent Chicagoland, I represent the West Side or whatever. And I think maybe that's what happens too. Once they get these positions, they forget that they're there to serve the people and not themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, Sandra. Absolutely. And to your point, my father is a United States Marine, Semper Fi. If there are any Marines on the call, my dad is a 2-tour Vietnam veteran. My uncle is a Purple Heart veteran. My daughter is a U.S. Navy veteran. My daughter was at the helm of the USS Kidd when the Malaysian aircraft had gone down. Wanda remembers my daughter
Yes.
when she was a poet and an
I
artist
sure
and
do.
floating around here. And one day she enlisted, and the next day I looked up, she was out of A school, and I was taking her to an airport. I was taking her to O'Hare, and she was deployed to
Wow.
Malaysia, to Asian waters. And I couldn't be more proud.
I
But I
know.
also know that veterans and veteran trauma, PTSD, anxiety, I believe the number is 21 veterans a day commit suicide across the United States. Veterans have a special place in my heart, and I will absolutely take care of any veteran that needs services. And I have been doing that for the last 10 years.
Look at
Great.
you.
I
Look
applaud
at you.
you. I
Thank
applaud
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We
Thank you.
all applaud you. We all applaud you. Lavetta has one more question, and then Jerry, I know I'm gonna give you the last question, and then we're out of here, folks.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I don't know the candidates or the aldermen. Some I do know by name on the South Side, but I said my aunt has been over there for I think over 70 years. And still in the same house on 76 in East End. And that's the Caesar family. And I want her to give you her support. And so my question is, where are you next? Are you available to come back to this program and speak again on some things that you might have some discoveries or whatever? But I would like for her to somehow, some way get to hear you.
Oh,
And
wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I will always come back to Wanda whenever she asks. I
okay,
will
that's
make my
enough.
calendar available even after I become alderman. We are going to be at an event on Saturday. It is the World Missions Department Harvest Fest. Saturday, it's at the King of Glory Tabernacle Church from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. 2314 East 83rd Street in Chicago. And we will be there, talking with folks, getting petitions signed, and registering folks for our next event, which is our senior breakfast. We've got a Safer 7th Ward senior breakfast on Wednesday, October 19th at 9 to 11 at the Quarry on East 75th Street. It is no charge to 7th Ward senior citizen residents. Will have lots of food and seating, and you'll get to see the plan. So you'll get to see the company that is utilizing software engineering to address communications issues related to conferences, events, initiatives, and we can post that in the chat. Additionally, you'll see some of our friends. You'll hear some great music, some smooth jazz. We've got a station in, and one of our food and beverage friends. We've got Master Chef Season 3, Alethea Ellis, cooking for us. So we're excited about that as well. She has a small restaurant and food truck on the South Side, and we are attempting to woo her in so that we can have a South Shore tap in our downtown area with food, beverage, and entertainment.
That sounds wonderful. And where are you with your petition?
We are doing excellent with petitions, but we still want more. My goal is 5,000.
Okay.
So we're going to utilize the 10 by 10 rule that, for those that are able to volunteer, or just take one sheet and, knock on your neighbor's door and one sheet of registered voters. And we are taking all of our registered voters to the polls for my seniors, because voting is in the middle of, the harshest winter ever. We're supporting the mail-in ballot and early voting ballot. So we will also provide shuttle service to and from the polls, in addition to making sure everybody gets to, vote on February 28th if they've waited until the last minute.
Come on now. She's on the ball. Yes, go ahead.
Looks like Veronica's got a
yes. I just have one thing I need to say. I see that we have a lot of our friends and family from the West Side, and somebody who's married to a West Side K-Town brother. I want to say to, and I'm from the South Side, I want to say one of the things that I hope will begin to happen. I was just on the West Side at a program that was put on by Tina's Legacy, and she had women on the West Side who were dealing with trauma, upholstery chairs to reflect the things they wanted better in the community. I have 3 of the chairs, Jocelyn, at the Eco Womanist Institute House. But I want to say that I want us to get, I've worked the West and the South Side and all the suburbs in my former job as a statewide outreach director for an environmental organization. We need to just work together for the city, okay?
Come on, Nat.
I mean,
Yes.
we need to, because I might be from the
Amen.
South, and all I heard, the South Side this and the West Side this. We all Black, we all been discriminated against, we all suffering from the same thing. I hope if you're elected, you plan for us to do field trips to come and help each other and support each other, because we're all Black folk in this city dealing with the same issues.
Absolutely.
Same issues by
we can do
design,
that.
segregation,
Yes.
oppression, racism, degradation of our communities. I remember when I came to Madison, I didn't know what happened. And they told me what happened after King assassination. Nobody fixed it up. So nobody's better off. We're all in this boat. And last I looked, we're all sinking unless we hold it up together. So I'm looking to work on the West Side, South Side, anywhere my chocolate Chicago face can go to.
Come on, girl. I
That's
love it.
wonderful. I support that. And West Siders are always welcome in the 7th.
Absolutely.
Always
Come on.
welcome.
We
We are
family.
your
We
neighbors just
family.
to the south. Absolutely.
That's right.
We
That's
would
right.
love to have you. We would love to have you.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. One last question from Miss Jerry Hudson. Uh-oh, I hear somebody. Jerry,
I'm
you
here.
have a question?
No, I just actually I do not.
Okay.
Jocelyn, I know you know, just let her know that I am very
Uh-oh, can't hear you.
excited about candidates. And one of the things that we have in common.
Can't
and
hear
I
you,
just want-
Jerry. Your phone is breaking up. It's going in and out. Okay. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you so
Jocelyn.
much.
This has been a terrific show. We're going to
It
have to
has.
have you back. You have been so informative. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for calling in, for sharing your opinions. And we're going to get Jocelyn into that position. And then we're going to look for 10 other Jocelyns so we can change our city and make it what we want it to be. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Good night.
See you
Thank you for
Saturday.
coming. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so
Good luck.
much. Thank you for your support. Have a good evening.
Absolutely. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.